Hey gang, as I talked about in my last video and demonstrated using guide coat and my sanding techniques, one of the phrases I used was work down, and I wanted to clear that up so that there's no confusion. Basically, I'm referring to using the guide coat to show my scratches and low area, and then as I'm block sanding, I may get a nice clean area around it, and by that I mean the color is nice and smooth. And that low area, wherever it may be, I'm working down the area around it. You can't bring the low area up, but you can take the other area down, and I mean sand down. So hope that makes sense. One of the other things is somebody asked about sanding in these curves. Well, some of this, all you can really get away with is your fingers, like underneath this strip rail. You know, you have a hard time getting in there. You could use some soft blocks. I've used that before. I think I have. Yeah, like here's a McGuire's. This is really a detail block for doing wet sanding, but you can wrap a piece of sandpaper around it and kind of get it in there. Now again, it doesn't follow the exact curve, and it's kind of hard to make it do the thing. So, like I said, you can either use your fingers, or I even use the side of my hand, because it tends to push into that curve nice. And I still do the block sanding technique. I just hold the sandpaper under my hand. Okay, hope that makes sense. But I'm going to go on and talk about this video a little bit. And you know, in the military we have this thing whenever you're doing a certain process, and they'll say sequence is scored. And I tend to refer to that a lot in my own conversations I have with people. But I'll say that as again right here, because part of the process of doing this car is going to be painting the dash, the steering column, these two panels, and the doors. Now for me, it doesn't make any sense to paint the car and then go back and try to paint all of these pieces, because for one, you'd have to tape off the whole car just to do the dash. At this point, I could just do a minimal mask and paint the dash and the steering column and basically be done with that part of it. Same way with the doors. You know, there's a split line, and it's basically in this radius right here, and that flows around, and that's where your color changes from interior color to exterior color. Well, along with that, these cars didn't have a shiny finish on these pieces. If you look at these original interior panels, there's no real gloss on these. It's a very dull kind of color, and they did that for a reason. A lot of it is just you didn't want that glare coming back at you. So whenever I do these, I'm going to use a clear coat, and I'm going to put some flattening agent in it. Now I'm not going to be able to help you much with that, because I work with my PPG guy. He's given me numbers or stuff to use, and there may be stuff available from different vendors. I don't know. But my task for today, hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, is to get these panels cleaned up and then primed, and also prime the doors. That's epoxy on them right now. And also work on the dash and various pieces, the ashtray and the glove box door. So I'm going to try to get all this stuff ready and then paint it back to this original blue color, and then clear everything with a flattened clear. So I'm going to try to get all that done, and I've got a lot of prep work to do, but to me that just makes more sense to do it that way than to try to paint the car and then come back and redo all this stuff. Okay, so I've made some progress. I've been prepping a variety of pieces. As you can imagine, there's a lot that make up the interior pieces. So here's the two pieces that make up the trim that goes on the windshield area, and then the ashtray, and then the speaker cover / defrost vent deflector. And then I've prepped the dash, and where you see the black, that's where there was some bare metal, and I sprayed epoxy primer. And I still have to tape up around the controls on the steering column there. But I have to paint it with the steering column in the car. It's just too much work to take it out, and it'll be fine. So along with that, I've also prepped both doors. And again, where you see black, that's where there was some bare metal, and I sprayed self-etch. And there was a few dents up here on top that I fixed. And that's a repair area that I had done before. And again, self-etch. So the doors are ready to go. And then these two panels, these are the fillers that go beside the rear seat. And there were some areas here where from the window crank turning, it had worn it down a bit, and so I just treated that with some self-etch as well. And there were a few other places where there were some seat rubs and had kind of worn into it a little more. Now granted, this has that texture finish, and it's not gonna be as prominent as it was when it was new. There still should be some evidence of it, but it's almost impossible to get all of this out and then duplicate exactly what they did at the factory. So at this point, I will get some primer on there and then let that cure, and tomorrow I should be able to put the paint and the clear coat on. So we'll see how that goes. All right, well, I got the primer on, and you can see I got it on the little trim pieces and the dash. Looks pretty good. Also got the doors taken care of, and those filler pieces that go around the seat, the rear seat. And as you can see, I've taped off the doors on that line that I talked about, that split where the seal goes. So those are ready to go. And I've already gone over these with some Scotch-Brite to scuff everything up, as I did with the dash and the other pieces. So now, after one more cleanup, you see this is, I even labeled that Mystique interior. This is what I'm using. It's medium blue poly. And that is the same color that was on these panels. I'm just replacing it with fresh paint. So the goal is to get some paint and then obviously some clear coat on it. Let's see how that goes. Well, I think the color was a success. There you can see those trim pieces and the color on the dash. Now, of course, I haven't done the clear coat yet, but just wanted to show you the progress. And the doors turned out nice. Really happy with those. And of course, these panels. And again, this is the original color that was on these from the factory. I think it looks pretty good. Now I just need to get the clear mixed up and get it sprayed and let this stuff dry and move on from there. Well, all right, I'm done spraying. So let me show you what it looks like. There's the dash. I think it turned out pretty good. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. Not high gloss, and that's good. And also got the trim pieces. And here's the filler pieces that go by the seat, obviously. And the doors. I'm pretty happy with this. I think they look pretty good. Now, of course, I'll have to be careful with the rest of the steps from this point on to protect these painted areas and the dash. Those I'll be able to stash. But this is progress, and that's good. So hopefully I can get further along and soon get the main body in color. I'm not going to say what the color is right now, so it'll be a surprise when it's all done, but it's going to look pretty darn sharp, I think. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.